Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your lowly chairman here. I hope you're all okay. Um, it's Wednesday night Super League. I'm delighted to say I'm joined with Northern Burn boss, Mr. Edwards. How you doing, Ian?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hello. I can see a few people in the chat already. I can see Mr. Campbell, Greavesy, Alf's in the chat. Evening, Alf. Good to see that you've had your jab. Hodgie's there. Potato Mourinho, our resident soprano. C. Wright just finished his Twitter champ stream, so we've got a few in already. That's good to see. Good to see. Um, Fixtures up on screen. Have a quick look at the results from midweek on Sunday, should I say? Anything that stood out to you, mate?
Aside from my game, which I think would probably, if you're talking match of the day, would have probably been first up. I think it was a belting game and came on the wrong side of it. I think the Devils marching on, putting a marker down after a slight little stumble, and then a fantastic second half from Jens boys at Boston kind of stood out for me. And then I guess maybe Gazelles as well, who've kind of had a season that hasn't really got going. Every time it threatens to get going, it kind of stops again. But they look poised and perhaps ready for a good win. But yeah, look at them numbers from the Devils. That's just beastly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a massive turnaround for Fife this season. Obviously, he's had so many years. I know he had a bit of hope a few years ago when he had a good start, but this is the first season he's really he's really got going, and I mean, good luck to Fife. As much as I like having a bit of fun with him, he's really got a team going there, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, he deserves it for the effort that he's put into the league, and he's been a massive part in making the league what it is. And obviously, you can see now from his Twitter feed, he plays a lot of champ, and that's obviously paying dividends
Made a
as well.
big difference on it. Made a huge difference.
Absolutely. But I mean, I play a lot of champ, and so I don't know what my excuse is.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask my next question. Really, does that kind of give you a little bit of hope? Really, the fact that someone like Pfeiffer, who was down the bottom last couple of years, and I know you had a tough time with BTEC. Does it have a hope that maybe next season, knowing that you've got the squad there, it could be a different kind of result? Because, I mean, although you've had a bit of an upturn in form recently, you've got to admit it's not been the best season for you.
It's not been. No, it hasn't been the best season at all. I mean, there has been a few positives, and I am learning still about the Super League as I go along. And the problem that I always have is when things start to go a little bit awry, I try and change too much. And my only success, whether it was with the very early BTEC or whether my BTEC or even Northern Burn, the success that I always have when it's like putting a few wins together always comes from consistency and team selection and really not getting too carried away with too many instructions, because you're always sat tinkering away and changing stuff when really sometimes just getting back to basics is all you need.
I completely agree. I know exactly what you mean there. I mean, sometimes overcomplicating things never really works out really. I know a couple of teams this season. I know I always kind of go back to that Dudley Hill team that he sent to his Gazelles and got hammered. If you kind of experiment too much and just do too left field and hoping that all the pieces are going to fall into place, it really rarely works that way. Right, before we have a quick chat about tonight's fixtures, I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Megahorse, who I've just seen in the chat. He's got the Swemp FA. Oh, I'm going to bastardize the pronunciation of it. It's basically a Swemp Super League where we've got two leagues kind of co-running in Sweden and Norway, and he's got it's nearly 30, maybe 28 members of the champ community, all with kind of concept teams going up against each other, and he's put an absolutely phenomenal amount of work into getting the database up to scratch, including duplicating players, which is something that we thankfully, never had to do when we were setting up the Super League here. So, I mean, anyone who isn't following it, I'm sure I'll retweet something from CMSL account after the show, but make sure you do get following in the Swamp FA account and keep up to date with it because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, a lot of a lot of bigging up to do. Mr. Mega Horse who's put some serious mental work in.
Yes.
Also, there's tons of other streams out at the moment. I have the three match ban stream. There's Once Dusty First Team Football. The game's gone. All those lads in. What else is going? I've been watching a bit of Dimbles and Steve Wright's Twitter champ, which is good fun. Kind of watch a lot of things on catch up during the day rather than in the evening because of my daughter. But it's all great fun and continuing to have a fantastic champ community during lockdown. It's definitely getting a few people through. So thanks a lot to everyone. Right, on to this evening. We're in Saturday the 9th of February. We're actually just um, taking over where we are in real life in Champ. We've got 7 fixtures tonight. Yourselves are away at Bostock Stanley. Do you want to talk us through what you're expecting and also any other games which stand out to you?
Expecting from my game, maybe not too much. I don't seem to be able to get my core spine of players all fit or not suspended for 2 games on the trot. So we're without our captain and Rock tonight, Walter Samuel and Stephen Gerrard, which is a bit of a shame. How was JJ Okocha just sneaked in there, by the way, Ryan?
It's not. It's just because I'm on Alpha Stinger. It's just got your entire squad.
Thought you finally got your own way and stuck
No,
in
no.
the
Don't you
teams.
worry. He's still in your reserves, mate.
But no, Bostock, we caught them earlier on in the season while they were absolutely formidable, and they edged our last game at our spot, if I remember rightly. And so probably not expecting a huge amount away from home. And judging by Scott's social media over the last few days, I think he's firmly expecting 3 points as well. But yeah,
He kind of
other than
needs it,
that,
doesn't he? If he's going to maintain that place. If you look at he's got 5 teams within 2 points of him, and he's kind of bottom of the pile in the playoffs. So he needs to keep winning, doesn't he, to maintain that spot? Because he's got a lot of people on his heels.
well, it just goes to show how tight the league is this year. Because I mean, he was top not so long ago, and top has quickly turned into squeaky bum time, hasn't it? Because if you look behind him, I mean, like I say, I think Gazelles will find some consistency, you know, with the squad that they've got. So I firmly expect Gazelles to sort of march in at the top 6 at some point, which kind of leaves you with, you know, Leddersford can win or lose any game they turn up to. It's hard to know what to expect from them. They could win a game 4-0, they could lose it. And then Dudley Hill seem to be that one team who are making a charge for it, but then every year one team makes a charge for it and then just hits a brick wall. And I just worry for Steve that might be them this year. Churchtown haven't really found any consistency, but then you look at Ian at Haggis Hunters, and you know you've always got to have last day of the season. You've always got to have some cameras at Haggis Hunters ground, haven't you? Because they're going to always have something to say about it. So you can't write them off yet either.
I've got no doubt that they'll be involved on that last day. Do you mean even if they don't make it, they'll have a chance on that last game. That's
Yeah,
just
well, I think
it's written in the
tonight
stars, isn't it? And that win against Astor is
that's it.
obviously.
And he's got obviously Landon Donovan's firing. Is giving Pavel Brozek a game tonight, who hasn't really had much of a sniff. And you know, I can say from my team that you know people talk about Ian Robin as being too young. I don't buy into Brozek being too young. Season 1, I think he can do a job for Haggis Hunters and help him climb the table.
Yeah, to be honest with you, if you look at both of the stats there, just as a little snapshot, it looks like Brozek's slightly more developed at this point. So
Yeah.
yeah, and you're definitely not being shy about giving a Robin a run out. So we'll interesting to see how Brozek does tonight. Without further ado, I think we've got a nice gang of people in the chat now. So let's maybe make our way to to actually playing some games, which is what people are here for. Um, as usual on a Wednesday, there's no real set order. Kind of try and make the bigger games towards the end. Obviously, we're going to be finishing with Bostock versus Northern Burn. Anywhere that you fancy going early on? I can see that maybe after Lettersford or Dragons, Gazelles. I mean, there's at this point in the season, there's no real nothing games, is there? They're
There
all
isn't.
taken on.
I quite fancy going to Dragons Gazelles if you're up for it.
Of course, yeah. The three-headed dragon, obviously not having the best of season at all. I think maybe going for a little bit of consistency. He's kept the same tactics this week. Off the top of my head, he just made a couple of changes in personnel. Alessandro and Jonsson have come in through injuries to West, and Kerr still missing Seedorf, of course. What do you make of the Dragons' tactics and their 11?
Do you know? I think if they'd have stuck what last week was a bit of a false result. I think they got beat heavily purely because it was another drastic change in system. I think if they were to just have kept everything this week, which they almost have done. Obviously, they've got the injury to Kerr, so the Alessandro comes in. But I mean, D'Alessandro, if you get him firing, he's an absolute assist machine. I know 5.8 for the season doesn't do him justice. But if you look at the fact they've got Boyer in there, I think perhaps Kakar is maybe the one that, and maybe back up front that really doesn't possibly shouldn't be there. It's good to see Ronnie Johnson in. I know a lot of people have been mentioning that he possibly should be included season one stats wise.
Oh, definitely. I'm one of those. I think Ronnie Johnson maybe the first 2 or 3 seasons really. I think he's up there. I've never really understood why he wasn't involved in previous iterations of the Super League. Big player.
Yeah, I think I mean I probably fall into that mistake sometimes of looking for more fashionable names, and he's never been a fashionable name, has he? And I think even if you do a Man United save, which I know a lot of people don't bother doing, but if you do a Man United save, Ron Johnson he's sometimes one of them who falls by the wayside because he just doesn't have that fashionable name about him. But yeah, he's a quality player, as he was in real life as well.
Indeed, indeed. I always forget to press continue first. And obviously tonight they're up against the Special Gazelles. The kind of, as you kind of alluded to, they kind of not really got going for the kind of Galacticos and squad they've got and the favourites tag they had pre-season. They had a good run, I think around about here. They had 3 wins on the bounce. Then they went and kind of lost 2. They had the big victory, 10 goals in 2 games, 7 against Dudley Hill. Then didn't score in the next 3. Including against yourself in the third one there. They obviously just kind of got a little bit of form back again, beating Bostock Stanley last week. A few changes again. I'm looking at the squad. He's missing Figo, Roy Keane, and Rio Ferdinand, obviously big players on the game. And we did say maybe early in the season that he's got a really, really, really good first 11. But once you get beyond that, he may be a little bit lacking. I can see players like Lima in tonight. He's gone with Dede and Cafu Naro. What do you think of this lineup? Is this similar to Jens used to do? Sorry, Andreas used to do at the Valen. Is this something?
With the diagonal lines on the right and left DMCs. I mean, if he's got his instructions right, I mean, it was obviously second nature to Andreas' side, wasn't it? And he seemed to have the instructions geared up to work. Whereas I think this formation doesn't really say Craig to me. Craig going narrow just to me doesn't quite sit right, but he's going with the guys that he's got. Ferdinand is a big miss. I know from past experience when I've struggled with BTEC, Ferdinand was always superb for me regardless. And obviously any team that can have Roy Keane in there is going to be a better team. And if you're missing him, it's going to be a massive loss.
Completely agree. He's one of those. If you get a good version of him, he can be absolutely fantastic. On the game, that is. Dragons v Gazelles, and who've you got your money on tonight, Ian?
Do you know, having bigged up Gazelles to make a run, I think Dragons may get something out of this. I think the consistency in team selection, the fact that they've gone for the same formation twice on the trot, probably for maybe the first time in a while. I like the team. I know it's not a great start tonight by the core comms saying a draw, but I feel like there's going to be a score draw. 1-1.
So, I know what you mean. It could go either way, this one in my head. Looks like there's a bit of a mix in the chat as well. Devils, Haggis, and a Potato going for a away win. Greavesy going for a home win. Alpha going for a draw. So, be interesting to see what happens. Let's kick this off. Now we're 15 minutes in, and we only haven't pressed kick off yet. Looks like there's a bit of yellow in. Just seeing Batistuta there. Dede's picked up a yellow card. Batistuta again. But then the black comes down the pitch.
Both teams are in it, aren't they?
Yeah, which is good to see, I suppose. Again, I'd say that, only 15 minutes gone, and yeah, but I'd say Dragons look like they're having the better of it, and Archie back doing what he didn't do at Haggis, and let's put the ball in the back of the net. That's interesting to see if Dragons can hold out with this, or maybe add to it. 28 minutes gone, it's been quite a busy first half. Looks like Clivert and Cafu and Jeremy's coming into it a little bit more, and there is a penalty. Obviously, no penalty to take a step, and Mourinho comes in. That must have been squeaky bum time for Craig when he sees Marino stepping up. But obviously, that kind of farm guide now kind of swinging into players. Raul gets one just before half time. Both sides had chances. Maybe Gazelles came into it more after Dragons scored. Definitely had slightly the better of it. A lot of the play being in the Dragons area and slightly edging possession. Let's have a quick look at the goals. Looks like Archie back right, headed by Kaka, back with a shot, saved by Pelizzola, and he puts in the rebound. Dede was brought down by Oliver Kahn. Dede high up there after a Cafu throw in. Mourinho takes the penalty, and Clivert skipping past Boma and crossing it in for Raul. Clivert turning assist there. After a shaky start, I've ended up being a solid first half for Gazelles.
It did, but it felt a lot more even than that. But then the zones show you that Gazelles actually were a lot more dominant, and it just goes to show that what difference Patrick Clivert makes to the side, because they've looked a little bit impotent. And I think those 3 games where they had no goals coincided with Clivert being not available all the time as well. So even if he hasn't got the score sheet tonight, he's made a massive impact.
Yeah, know what you mean. Mourinho obviously getting the 8 there because he's got the 8. Only Lucio, maybe surprisingly, getting the 6. Assist coming from Dede and Clivert, as you alluded to. Raul not really done much apart from put the ball in the net. Looks like he's. I always like to see that basically sometimes teams have a lot of shots, but they come from all over it. Whereas this side, you've got Clivert and Raul having 5 of the 8 shots on target, which is nice to see. Lucio and Mourinho having the other 2 for some reason. Quick look at Dragons, and after a promising start, it looks like it might have been turned into same old story. I've not seen any of the lads in the chat, so I'm not too sure about half-time subs. I can't see any kind of massive injuries to players, so probably going to kick off with this same amount. Batistuta again, 7.28, 7 goals after 16 games when he's been the main man up front. 6 again tonight, not fantastic. D'Alessandro, maybe season 1, he's not there despite being 20 years old, and you compare him to people like Brozek and who else did one? Iron Robin. I think Alessandro is one who gets good, but maybe isn't there season 1.
I'd just like to see him at AMC as well, to be honest, rather than MC personally. Well, that's a personal opinion.
I think he needs a big second half from his big players. So if he's going to get back into this now, he needs Lee Bowyer, Gabriel Batistuta to kind of deliver something. There was no assist to that first goal, so yeah, he needs a good game from Oliver Kahn, which he's on an 8 so far at half time, and he's due a world class performance. But yeah,
that shows how well Kahn's doing, because he gave away the penalty, didn't he? And he's still on an 8, so he must be doing something right.
Must be doing something right. He's let 2 of the 7 in, so it's not I mean, not spectacular, but not terrible either. And we kick off the second half. It looks like it's Gazelle's come out on top. Clivert involved again. Seen Cafu, but there's Archie back, and Archie back has scored again. Archie back finally getting a little bit of that form. D'Alessandro involved there a little bit. Zay Elias, another one of those who's had a relatively solid season for Dragons, but as soon as I say that, Agahoua, or was it Agahoua went up the other end and got
It
the
was,
goal?
yeah.
But Zay Elias bounce back. What a game this is turning into. 10 minutes to go. It's
It's,
3-3.
oh,
And Andres D'Alessandro. Gazelle's won 4-3 last time out, and it looks like they're
wow.
maybe on the receiving end of a 5-3 here. Wow.
It's going to be a
Wow.
few.
Wow. What a game.
It's not a
5-3
great
victory.
start the evening.
Well, that's what we like to see, isn't it?
It is. What a second half though. They've had the better of the second half. It'd be interesting to see where the action was on the zones.
It was in the
It hasn't
Dragons.
changed hardly. It's changed 1%, but they were
Yeah,
just so much more clinical.
indeed. So I'm honestly concerned that there was like 6 goals in the second half, maybe. So I don't know if you're going through everything, but um, Clivert put the ball far post Royal. That was the first one, wasn't it? Archie back looks like a bit of a one-man band after a Cafu corner. Um, Dede to Balak, Balak to Agahoua, who beat the keeper. Oliver Kahn not covering himself in glory there. Batistuta to Boya, Boya to Lucio, picked up by Zé Elias, who tried his luck. And D'Alessandro on the follow-up bangs it in. D'Alessandro's had a great second half, hasn't he?
That's, yeah, 4 shots, 3 on target, gets his goal.
Goal and an assist, and he
Got an
only gets
assist.
7. That's a bit
Bit
harsh,
harsh
maybe.
for a 7, yeah. And Archie Back, who I said at the start maybe needs to play in the AMC role, plays striker, gets a 9. Alessandro, I said should be playing AMC. He's playing MC and changes the game. So yeah, what do I know?
Wow. Let's see Doug in there in the chat. Up the Dragons, hand grenade, hopper. He said he had the noose around his neck at half time. Oh, yeah, Archie back covering himself in a bit of glory tonight with the 2 goals, but it's more of a team performance like in the second half. Kaká picking up an 8 after maybe not being the marquee name on this team sheet. D'Alessandro, Boya getting involved, Batistuta after taking a bit of criticism at half time. And a better defensive performance, really. You got to see Oliver Kahn's rating drop, but Zeri's, Ibrahim Steeds, and I think it was Ronnie Johnson was on a 6 that they've all improved. So great performance to Dragons and well deserved 5 goals. Long time coming. Quick look over the other side, and as we kind of expected, with you saying how clinical they were, Ivan Pellizzoli's ratings dropped to a 5. The Green Clivert's got an assist, and I mean, he's a couple of key passes there. He's not had a bad game. Gazelle's have scored 3 goals, so you've got to say the forward players have done their jobs. Um, Obviously, they're missing Ferdinand at back, Mourinho coming in getting a penalty, but not the kind of main man in defence, really. Not, I don't know, his stats don't look too bad, actually, but um, maybe not his first choice in centre defence. Can you put your finger on anything that might have gone wrong tonight? Apart from
Yeah, I can put your finger on it in 2 words. Ivan Pellizzoli. I think it's unfortunate for Craig. He's not been too sure about his keeper all season. He has kind of chopped and changed. I think he landed on Pellizzoli, who had a couple of decent games.
Not been playing bad, has he? 8-7-7-8-8. He's not.
Exactly, yeah. But I know in the past he's always quite like Landro, and I think Landro in past incarnations has been decent for Hoddesdon. But he's let him down once or twice, I think, hasn't he?
5 goals in 2 games.
5 goals in 2 games. Yeah, I mean, if you look at last season when you won it, I mean, there's an argument for saying just stick Rab Douglas in there and forget about it. But yeah, that's cost him tonight as the keeper. But I've got a lot of sympathy for him. I mean, I scored 3 goals last week and lost the game in similar circumstances. So yeah, it's an absolute wounder. But Craig, I know with the way his season's gone, he probably wasn't expecting anything else, was he?
No,
No.
it has been one of those seasons, hasn't it, where it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back at times. But um, do you mean? I mean, looking at that result and kind of the bigger scheme of things, really, it's a bit of a morale booster for the Dragons, lad. Probably deserved one after they've been down in the doldrums last 2 weeks. It isn't really doing much for the playoff hopes. I think that ship may have sailed.
Yeah,
But what it has done, though, they were sat in seventh, Gazelle. So those players from eighth to 11th, and even Bostock will be kind of quite happy about that. That's one team down who could have gained some ground on them, or they could have overtaken. So the lads behind them looking to jump them now.
absolutely. Yeah, Ian and Steve will be pretty chuffed with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it also means that if well, yeah, obviously you're not too far behind if you win tonight, but maybe still a few games away for yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
last week cost me. I'm looking just to try and stay off bottom really more than anything.
all right, well, maybe that result might not have been good news for you then.
Well, let's go to Aston next and see whether he catches me up and all.
Astor versus Leddersford, Captain Mannering. Let's see what he's gone with this week. Um, Not too much, or no difference in the formation. I'm just trying to think. Lucas Radaby's coming for Materazzi, who's suspended. I don't think he made any other changes. Is this obviously spoke at length on Sunday about this being more traditional Alf.
Mm.
Do you like the look of this? I know I don't really want to criticise it too much because I have my say on Sunday, but this something that you like the look of?
It's better. I mean, I think he had Del Vecchio in centre mid last week, didn't he? If I remember rightly. Oh, he didn't. I
No,
thought
I
he
think it
did.
was the week before, maybe. Oh, I can't remember. He definitely had him in sentiment at some point, didn't
I'm sure I thought he did. Yeah.
he? No idea when it
I'm
was.
totally wrong then. But it just seems a bit of a better balance. He seems to get a bit of joy from the two AMCs sort of running at that gap between the strikers as well. Um, maybe Danielson on the left hand side of those two. This thing about crowbarring as many Italians into your team as you can do as well. Might have worked out all right for him this week because I think his three DMCs are probably as strong as any three DMCs as he's put out so far this season.
Yeah,
And with,
it's mad that he's only played Baronio one game. I think he's probably one of his stronger players, in my opinion.
yeah, with Takinardi, and he got Gian Cheddar off me, and I think Gian Cheddar has been quite good for him. So I think them three there look reasonably solid. And he's gone back to what he knows rather than having these sort of wide guys. It looks like the Duff experiment might have ended, so he might be getting a few DMs between
Well,
now and the end of the season.
yeah, I mean, he has made his four transfers in now, so he probably is going to be a bargaining chip for whatever happens next season. As always, I urge managers to kind of restrain themselves from talking about transfers next season until we have a clearer view of exactly what's going to happen. Because, I mean, yeah, without going over old news, it can kind of cause issues. um, um, Tonight, Astra Athletic take on Hodges Leddersford Old Boys, who beat your lads last time out. A resurgent Vincenzo Montella come into the team, and as did Fernando Torres, taking Moriante the spot. And they repaired the manager's faith with 3 goals between them. The co-chair, slagged Christoph Patsatsoglu off in playing centre midfield. He responded in kind by scoring a goal and getting an 8. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. You were on a good run, weren't you? And the Leddersford kind of spoiled that.
Yeah, we played obviously we played them twice now, and both games, home and away, could have gone either way. I think we drew 2-2 away from home against them, and we probably ended the game looking like we could have won it. This time round, partly due to my goalkeeper and partly due to how dangerous Leddersford were, they looked like scoring every time they came down my end of the pitch. Um, I think it was an excellent performance from Leddersford, really, and he kind of is debunked the myth that that Montella has to play up front on his own. They played as part of a two, and both strikers scored. He's not afraid to change it up, Hodgie, which You know, he generally he kind of bucks the trend a little bit in as much as a lot of people chop and change and don't get results from continuous chop and changes. But he'll make a big change, it'll work, he'll stick with it for 2 or 3 games, and he'll accumulate some points before it starts to maybe start to go a little bit wrong and maybe stop winning the games, and then he's not afraid to change it again. So yeah, really good management.
What I will say on that front is that you mean he goes with sensible tactics really. You mean he puts players in the right positions. He might change things about. He might go, I don't know, he might go narrow, he might go one at the back, but do you mean he goes with one of the base solid formations? He likes the DMs. He has his players in good positions. He's got wing backs in there. Do you mean he's not? You mean I know I remember you a few weeks ago. You were playing wide wingers, and you mean they've had a poor history in the Super League, haven't they?
Yeah,
Um,
the reason I went for the wide wingers, it was the first. It was winning the game. I was going away to Hools, and Hools had obviously gone to their flat back four, and so I went away to Hools with proper AML or FL and FR positions, and I was able to get the win there. I was really just trying to pin their fullbacks back, and it seemed to work, but it only generally seems to work against the flat back fours, not the wing backs.
yeah, I know what you mean. As soon as they get past those wide wingers, then they kind of they're left in no man's land to an extent, aren't they?
Mm.
Greaves, you're saying Nesta and Ugo is solid. I think he's got two good players there. The other one is Uliano. I think he's got. I mean, he wasn't really too happy with Nesta as his marquee pick pre-season, but I mean, I think there's definitely worse picks out there, and he's got, I mean, some solid defenders. I mean, he's got solid strikers. Maybe kind of in the middle area is one of the players positions he lacks, but overall, I think he's got a really strong team.
Oh,
Um, Obviously, Asta down near yourselves on 13th. Try not to finish at the bottom after Dragons winning tonight. Maybe try to catch you and catch the bunch. I don't think Alf will rule himself out of it just yet. Hodgie, after the Gazelles get beat in prime position to kind of make a run at the playoffs. What's your prediction for this one?
I'm predicting an away win for this one.
An away win. That's exactly what Ian Campbell says, and that's exactly what the Devils have gone for as well. Alf's gone for himself, good man. Rob Marshall for a 3-3. Couple of away wins for Greavesy and Steve Wright. Let's kick this one off and see what we get. Wow, what happened there? So, I don't know what happened. Jan Cheddar got sent off on 3 minutes and it continued playing, didn't it?
It is, yeah. I was worried we had a bit of a glitch there or something, but how long did it continue for? It seemed like a couple of minutes.
Yeah, really strange. But anyway, um, Alf, I'm sorry, mate. What do you want to do? My kind of initial thing would maybe to bring Raymer on. He plays defensive there, and to kind of maybe just drop Danielson or I don't know,
It's
Takanadi
saying
there.
it's saying Takanadi, yeah. I mean, as the home side, I think that's what I'd do as well, to be honest.
Okay, it's very narrow now. I mean, it was narrow, and now it's very narrow. So let's see what happens. Obviously, Alf might be able to change it a little
He
bit.
just doesn't
Not,
look like he's got many players on the pitch, even less than 10, doesn't he? But it seems like it does seem like the obvious choice.
yeah. Looking at how the players go, it looks like Leicester having a few chances, but not taking them so far. But now it looks like Shevchenko and Co are coming back into it. See Mehmet Scholl and Del Vecchio in it a bit. It looks
Absolutely
like
holding their own, yeah.
yeah, it looks like both. I mean, both sides still definitely in the game. Um, but there's Robbie Keane. Nope,
No,
offside. Does look like. I mean, Leicester are coming into it now, and they're soaring game on. 5 minutes to go, just before half time. Yeah, I don't think they're out of it yet, though. Not at all.
you could definitely pinch something, but I think it's going to have to be, well, having said that now,
Yeah,
Torres, what a great call to bring Torres up from the reserves.
yeah, he's another one, young lad, and maybe a little bit unfancied early on, but
Quite well
yeah,
developed where you need him to be.
yeah, he's definitely one for season three. But you give him game time, he's going to get there quicker. Much like I think Mr. Haggis will be hoping to with Brozek and yourself with Robin.
Mm.
Um, Half time, Alf had the possession, which is rather surprising with his 10 men down in there. It's been a lot in midfield, maybe not so much in midfield actually, and it's been split. Let's have a quick look at the goals. Jen Shadow went in late on Ekiog, maybe a little bit harsh. Who's refereeing this evening? Chris Belaine, not a name that kind of springs to mind. Exeberia tried the volley, it hit Hippier and found Sorin, who put it home. And then we've got Montella crossing the ball from the left and Torres heading the ball home. Hodgie will be delighted his strikers have combined, even if, yes, Montella has got the assist. Maybe a little bit helped by the red card so early in the game, but that's a good first half for Hodgie.
Massively. Their lads living in the changing rooms, they'll have seen the Gazelles result come through, and they'll have thought, get a win here, and we're climbing the table.
Completely agree. I'll say no luck when you're down at the bottom. Hodgie let us know. I think I saw him early on. I'm not too sure he's still there, but if he wants any subs, not too sure I'd change anything. I agree with Sutherland. Not a lot of touches for Leicester, though. A lot on pre-10 there, including the defenders. Interesting to see what's happening. The home side have had more touches. Obviously, the 5 for Jan Shedder, Radaby on 6, but not a terrible performance. 7s across the board. I think Alf will be. I mean, he's 2-0 down, so you can't see he's going to be relatively happy, but his lads haven't really let him down, I'd say, so far. I think mainly only 2 shots on target is probably the main issue. Interesting to see if he. I don't know what too much you can do with.
No, until the second goal went in, I thought they were well in it and could quite easily be pinching something. But I fear that second goal might have just killed them. If he had Shevchenko firing a bit more this season, you might sort of think a couple of goals in quick succession could save the day for them. But you can't see where it's going to come from.
No, I'm saying that. I mean, we'll see, we'll see. Just giving a couple more seconds to Alf and Haji just to see if they went any halftime subs. I've not seen anything thus far.
I've not seen Hodgie in the chat. Is he in the chat tonight?
I definitely saw him early on. Yeah,
Right.
he was basically one of the first commenters. But then I've not seen him since. Sometimes I think he turns the chat off when the show's on so we can watch it properly. Evening, Dimble. How we doing? I'll say no.
Dimble, what have I missed? You've missed everything. You've missed an absolute load. Where do we start?
I'm sure you'll catch up. The Dragons did win 5-3. That is the highlight so far. We're not too far in though. Let's kick off the second half and see what happens here. Red card to Jen Cheddar, obviously changing the game, and Leathersford getting 2 goals late in the first half. Shevchenko having a chance there though. Maybe a red card. I saw Pat Saxwell getting booked there, might even things up a bit.
They just don't look out of it, do they? Yet.
Not out of it, not out of it, but he's running out of time, though, 15 minutes to go, and now he is out of it as Montella does what Montella does and scores. But there's Shevchenko, that's a little bit of a silver lining for Alfred. 3 minutes to go, and that's the final whistle. Yeah, Montella, only one more shot from Astor on target, and that was Montella's goal. Couple more for Leathersford, but a bit of a quieter second half overall. You'd expect it kind of took over and was more played in Leathersford in Astor's final third, but they still have more possession, which is surprising. What did we see? Torres hit it to Montella. That's great for Hodgie that his 2 strikers combining again. Del Vecchio flicked the ball on and Shevchenko collected it. I'm interested to see if he gets the assist because of the different minutes there. And the answer is no. We'll give it as a solo goal to Shevchenko. Considering he's been down to 10 men for, including the added on time, probably 95 minutes. Not a bad performance overall from Aston. Obviously, not the result they wanted. A lot of passes, not enough chances created. All the shots on
Vecchio
target.
defending from the front as well. Six tackles, 5-1 from Del Vecchio. So it does show they were up against it, and the team has put a shift in for Alf as well. They are they are still playing for the manager.
Oh, completely agree, and I agree with Alf's comment there. Not disgraced at all, and it's just too early, really, in the game for the red card. And you mean it's 60 minutes, something like that, you can kind of get away with, but the fact when you're doing it then for practically 90 minutes with 10 minutes, it's hard work. Um, yeah, and Shevchenko getting a goal, I think rightly a silver lining. He would have liked Shearer to have a couple of shots on as well, but that hasn't happened tonight. Really been a bit of a disappointing signing for him thus far. Montello's had a quiet season so far. Coming good now, Matt?
Yeah, I think he's found something there, hasn't he? I know Morientes is a favourite of Hodges, but he's found something there with Torres and Montella, which as they try and push for top six, if you can play two up front and you can get them both scoring, I mean that's absolutely priceless.
Completely agree. Um, so yeah, a really dominant performance when you look at the player stats. Two tens in a row, correct. Two tens in a row for Montella. Another game where he got two last time out, and he's got one this time and an assist. Torres as well getting a goal and a 9. Hodges, do you mean that them two have started firing at the right time for him to make a run at those playoffs? Again, I always do that. Let's have a look at where we are now. I'm just having a quick look. Do you fancy going to Churchtown next? Churchtown Devils, I think. Obviously, Devils relatively set in their kind of
Yeah,
position at the top of the thing. I don't think there's as much on it.
yeah, it would have been my choice to go there next, to be honest. Yeah,
Let's have a look at that then.
it's a really interesting game still. So yeah, I look forward to this one.
Um, and similar again to Andreas going with the pineapple formation. It's Churchtown fresh. I don't think there's much change from the last formation. I think he's brought what do you call it? I think he's brought Dribble Cisse in up front for Nuno Gomez.
Yeah.
Beyond that, Brett Emerton in for whoever he had, centre defensive midfielder who we slagged off a bit. Who did we slag off? Mendes de Silva, was it? Who was it?
Yeah,
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 Mendes de
Memphis
Silva.
is all right though, but
In
yeah,
my
again,
opinion,
maybe a
in
bit
my
young.
opinion, that's two positive changes to the 11.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I think for me personally, I think that Brett Emerton and Javier Zanetti are two of the best uh, right wing backs on the game, and neither of them are playing in that position. He's playing them both at DMC. Zanetti gets away with it. Obviously, he can play anywhere. His stats are absolutely fantastic, and I know Emerson is built as a DMR DRC, so he can play there. The joy that I've ever seen Emerton have in Super League really has been as a wide man. But interesting to see that he's employing both of those guys more centrally. But
For me, I mean, to go on your point there, if you'd put Emerson as a right wing back with Zanetti inside, I'd say that's fine. But he's been reluctant to play Emerson for whatever reason. Only played 6 starts out of the 19, which for a player of his quality may be a little bit wasteful. Um, I mean, he needs to kind of halt the rot. Really, actually 4 league defeats on the bench because the Sloths game is missing from this little graphic. Um, so he's had a really tough start. Won the first game, and defeat, draw, defeat. Then went on a huge winning run. I mean, 6 to 7 games. I think it's 6 games, which is
yeah,
kind of
but I
putting
don't
him.
think the huge winning run was with this particular tactic, was it? I think his winning run was with a wider tactic, was it not?
Yeah, for me, if you look at that tactic there, if you put Zanetti there and Emerson there, it's a much better team.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, with this tactic as well, it means he isn't playing Ashley Cole, one of his other better players, who he transferred Edgar Davids for pre-season. Um, so he's made a decision here to go narrow. Um, let's see what happens, eh? Let's see what happens. Needs players like Pablo Aimar. Obviously, he's another player who gets better as the game goes on. But if you're going to qualify with this, I think relatively young team, then you need players like that to do well.
Oh, there's definitely an 11 in there to get your top six, no doubt about it.
Yes, I completely agree. Um, I think Fifey's one-word team submission was unchanged, and you can kind of understand why after his 4-0 victory last week.
Yeah.
Only player who wasn't doing well is the player who's been absolutely fantastic all season, Montero, practically running the team for him.
Yeah, I think it was nice of the rest of the team to give Montero a day off.
Yeah,
I mean, Fifey's had plenty of games where it's been, Montero doing absolutely everything while everyone else stands around and watches. So it was nice for, in this incarnation and this particular 11, they can all pull their weight while Montero just lights a cigar.
yeah. I'm a bit kind of worried about going because if he goes on change and he sticks with his same 11 kind of week in, week out. I'm a little bit wary about going over the same things that we go over on a Sunday than on the previous Wednesday. But do you mean it's a sensational front line? Kieran Dyer has been one of the players of the season. Even Diaz, who he's brought mid-season from Boston, has come and done a serious job. Um, I could if he's put there, and then Montero has been sensational, which I completely agree. I think if you probably look at the games that he's won, Sebastian Freo probably in net for most of them. He has played Richard Wright for a few.
Yeah, I think
um,
there was early on in the season there was that debate, wasn't there, when people were saying that he should have been sticking Frey in there, and he has for quite a long time now. But I think when everyone in front is playing that well, you don't have to worry too much about how developed Frey is. He's certainly good enough to be playing behind them 10.
yeah, I completely agree. I think the three players I wanted to kind of highlight is maybe not the kind of Galacticos as the rest of the squad, and maybe Novotny, Gravison, and Diaz. Are they players that are potentially a weak link for the Devils? They're not having bad seasons. I saw Diaz absolutely flying. Um, Gravison, I think, has played 7.6, and Novotny. And Novotny maybe letting the down a little bit with 6.75. I'm not saying that any of them are having bad seasons though. I'm just trying to maybe look at them as maybe the weakest of the 11, and
Yeah, but
should
I
that
think
be a worry for Fifey?
the temptation would be to maybe replace Novotny or even Diaz with Christian Kivu. But I mean, I know from past experience that Christian Kivu wasn't exactly lit up the Super League. So I totally understand why he's doing what he's doing. I mean, the fact of the matter is they're top of the league, so why would you change too much?
Yeah. Can you bear with me for 3 seconds, mate? You keep talking away. Talk about the league table for a second, and I'll be right back.
Great, just lumber me with it. Yeah. Well, the best thing about the league table at the moment is you don't actually have to scroll down to see Northern Burn, which normally when you get screenshots of us, you don't even see our team name on there. So yeah, not an awful lot else to say other than well done to Hools for what a massive turnaround they've had in their season. They keep rising and rising, and even when they get the odd result going against them, they come again. Same as last week when they had an absolutely fantastic second half to their game to get that 2-2 draw.
Ever
Brilliant
the
performance that
professional,
was.
ever the professional, Ian, and I thank you so much.
Yeah, right.
When we started the show, the wife was sorting out some clothes and doing some bits, so I had all of the baby monitor and forgot to give it back. So
Don't worry about it, mate. And I've been there.
let's proceed to the match. It's Churchtown versus Devils. Any predictions tonight, mate?
I predict loads of goals. If I had to put some money on which way it's going to go, I'm going to say away win.
Away win. I think that'll be the general consensus. Steve Wright's going for a 2-2, though. I'll let a couple more predictions come in before I kick off.
And we maybe say, are we going to go as far as to say Kieran Dyer man of the match just because Churchtown are going narrow?
Yeah, potentially. That's a good call, really. And I think the other thing I mentioned that Fifey will have one eye on Emil Penza, who's been absolutely phenomenal all season, but he's had a couple of quieter games.
No, I
So
think
it would.
Fife is firmly expecting to lose 5-0.
Oh, that's Fifey every week, really. Um, yeah, obviously, as you'd expect, Devils the favourites in the chat, and Churchtown's chances won't have been helped by
That's a
that.
huge blow because he hasn't really got a replacement, has he? You're going to have to shift some. I mean, it's what Emerton back. Oh, he's going Zanetti back.
No. I think it's Emerson, isn't it? Emerson back centre and Luigi Di Biagio on.
So, I
All the
mean,
way.
whatever you do, you're going to be weakening because I mean, Okaronko is obviously a bit of a beast.
And he's had a really good season as well, 7.67. And you can see that's a team that's conceded a lot of goals. So, yeah. Let's continue. What do you call it? Looks like Church is still in the game, and I'm conscious I don't want to kind of don't
That
want
they're
to
getting
kind
a grip
of
of it already, though. Oh,
yeah. And Pens haven't won this allowed on 14 minutes there.
and that's a yellow
Um,
card for the other centre back. Have to
I
keep an eye
keep,
on that.
just they look dangerous every time they get the ball, don't they? That's the thing. It looks like
Well, they
Church
have
are
all season, haven't they? Yeah. You know,
and
they're not goal shy.
no, and there's Impenza again doing a bit of trouble. Harry Kuehl and Ronaldinho. Seen a lot of Novotny as well, which is a bit of a strange one. He's going marauding up the pitch.
And it's the
Um,
occasional bit of white, so there is a bit of hope for
yeah,
Kieran.
and we've got to 44 minutes here, nearly half time without a goal, and we've got to half time without a goal.
It'd be
And
interesting to see if Fifey has any changes second half with playing against a changed team.
yeah, looking at those stats, I thought it was probably going to be more in Devils' area. They've obviously done really well with the passing, but Schertstein having more shots on target. It has been in their area, and the Devils having more um, possession. Not too much to see in the match report, just after Wanko had to go off injured. I don't think Kieran's about, so I will go to Fifey first and have a look at his 11. What do you make of Devils' first half?
I thought they'd like you. I thought they'd dominated a little bit more than that. I would say well done to Thomas Gravison and Emerson for their pass completion ratio. I'm assuming they're just knocking it backwards and forwards to each other, are they? While everyone else watches them. Um, but they're not really getting forward and dominating like you'd probably expect after that change that was enforced on Kieran at the start of the game. Um, I'm sure they'll come into it more, but it still just feels like there might be that slight champion on the cards.
Potential. I mean, maybe not a champion when you look at the shots, but I know exactly what you mean. Maybe the unexpected results. You can see the yellow card from Montero, not good. It seems to pick up a lot of bookings if that's the one and only flaw. Fifey's going unchanged. I completely agree with Mr. Campbell. Churchtown are doing okay, even if that isn't reflected in their stats too much. A lot of sixes, couple of sevens, and an eight for the goalkeeper Lehman, who's been one of the bright stars in that Churchtown lineup.
Yeah,
Um,
it's always good, isn't he, in this league?
yeah, always good. Had a really good run for Astor as well. I remember. Jibble Ceesay and Hidikoshi Nakata, Ima Donny on sixes. Um, Pass completion's quite low, which I kind of understand why. John Terry not doing too bad, but he's picked up a booking as well.
Mm.
Um,
Put a lot of tackles in. He's having to work hard, but
yeah,
Kieran just can't seem to get Amar going for whatever reason.
yeah, he's a tough one to get going season one, in my opinion. He's definitely he's in the right position. I think I
Mm.
mean, I would play him there with the arrow between two strikers. That's exactly what I'd do with Imar. But for whatever reason, it's not kind of not started. I know I've generally played a 3-1-4-2 um, with um, with him there. So, hmm, let's see. No, sorry, 3-4. Yeah, 3-4-1-2. Correct. Second half. Let's kick off. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Very unprofessional as always. Again, it looks like Churchtown has started strong. Lots of touches for Zanetti, Biagio, Cisse
And
as well.
Nakata as well. Maybe he's got Andreas's version of Nakata, who is always able to come and make some sort of contribution.
Yeah, I completely agree. But it just seemed every time Devils do touch the ball, and that was a very quick first half. Um, every time Devils do touch the ball, they look dangerous, but obviously not that dangerous. Um,
No, I mean I was
so
expecting a lot of goals there, and obviously I got that completely wrong. But I actually don't think that Fifey will be too disheartened by that because he's gone away, he's played against a dogged team, and he hasn't he's still come away with a point away from home. So I mean, there's still plenty of positives to take away there from the Devils, really.
Completely agree. I mean, he's got a clean sheet. That was always Fifey's issue. He conceded more than he scored, really, without dumbing it down too much with a Michael Owen comment. He always, I mean, he never had an issue scoring goals. He always used to score at least one or two. Always used to concede one or two more. It looks like they've had a bit more possession, although Churchtown have had the ball in their area more. Churchtown have had a good performance. Maybe would consider themselves a tad unlucky not to snatch the win. There's not really too much in the match report. Slightly better second half, maybe not a fantastic second half, but slightly better second half. You'd be really happy with Brett Emerson slotting centre back and getting an 8.
Absolutely.
Zanetti, captain, getting an 8 as well. Up the pitch, a lot of shots off target. Cristiano Donny, maybe not the one he wants to put in the shots on goal. Maybe wants Cisse and Madeira to take a little bit more control. Madeira probably the disappointing one, not to really get anything on target at all.
Yeah, has he gone a bit quiet, Tom Madeira,
Yeah, I
of
don't.
late? He,
I think those at least 9 of those 10 goals were in the first 8 games. So he's definitely off form, low morale for whatever reason. That is just noticed there. Yeah, it's not right at the minute. Let's have a quick look. Marine saying it's Haggis's league to lose. Not too sure I agree with that. Let's have it. I mean, usually it's praising Devils for thrashing a team 4 or 5 goals to 1. Not that this week, but not a bad performance overall. Emerson's still picking up man of the match, having a lot of passes. The 37 out of 41, massive pass completion.
yeah, putting a lot of tackles in as well. So I mean, he has had a bit of work to do, but they've rolled the sleeves up and they've got something out of the game. And at the end of the day, he's got a target there of how many points he needs to get to, because he's obviously still frightened to death that he's not going to make top 6, even though he should be looking obviously higher. And it's another point towards that goal. I mean, you're now looking at one draw or one win out of however any remaining games, and you're guaranteed a playoff place, and then you can start dreaming.
Yeah, I think that's what Fife will be doing. I think Fife may be on the down low. That's 37 points, isn't it? He's going to pretty much know that, barring something spectacular, he's there, and he'll just know he'll be focusing on that top 2 and just trying to pick up results. So I understand why he keeps playing himself down to an extent. I'm just going to read Duggan's comment. Honestly, mate, you'll finish top and have some bad results along the way. You've been the best side by a country mile. Point away from home is sound. Yeah, so I mean, it's a lot of people kind of responding to Fife, but I understand why Fife is the way he is, why he is being so pessimistic, because he's so used to getting beaten, he's so used to it all kind of going wrong. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, if I'm ever lucky enough to have the season with one of my teams that Fifey's had this season, I probably would still be behaving in exactly the same way as he's behaving now. I totally understand it. And I think, fair play to everyone else for telling him what a good job he's doing. But yeah, I can still see why he is carrying on the way he is. You can tell him till you're blue in the face what a good job he's doing, but he is gonna worry that it's all gonna go tits up at some point. But the fact of the matter is, he's almost there. And once
yeah,
he does get to that 39, 40 points, he can start thinking about top 2, because obviously, historically, as we know, how important it is to be top 2.
completely agree. Sorry, I was trying to think about where it's probably best to go next. I was going to go to.
I was thinking Fulchester,
I
maybe.
was, yeah. I just wondering about Jens's bedtime because he's an hour in front of us, isn't he? That's another thing that kind of springs to mind sometimes.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's go to Norway. I know that. Yeah, it's that's the only thing that I know. It's midweek and he's probably got work in the morning. And having him on last is not really fair. So let's have a look at Hull's Vikings' recent form. They haven't conceded many. Kind of they've been 3-0, 1-0 victories. They lost one, they won one. That's a 2-2 against what were league leaders, Lokomotiv Boston. Obviously, they lost their first 4. They would probably be in that top 2, top 3 kind of race if it wasn't for those first 4 defeats. If he kind of started the game after at week 5, he's got a plethora of talent. What should be the
Absolutely.
target for Hulls this week? Well, this week and for this season.
Oh, well, this season target for Jens has to be top 6, doesn't it? I mean, he inherited the franchise from an absolute legend of the league in Thiago, and Thiago the last couple of seasons really couldn't get anything going. Jens has sort of took it on. I love the way he's kept the identity of the team.
Completely agree.
He's paid tribute to the heritage of the team, but he's also put his own little twist on it. So like, as well as being a fantastic addition to the league, he has actually, even though he's kept the Hulls thing, he's got his own team first and foremost. And then he went and had the most horrendous start that I've probably ever seen anyone have. And who would have thought that they'd be top 4 now after that start that he'd had? I mean, I think Jens would have been the last person to think he'd be top 4 now after the start he'd had. So you just have to take your hat off and say, well done. And nobody wants to play against him. Everyone looks at Beckham in the centre of midfield on his own and thinks, well, that isn't going to work. That's not going to last, and it does. Van Nistelrooy doesn't do it in the Super League. Sigalko doesn't do it in the Super League, yet he's got both of them doing it. I could go on.
Yeah, I mean, the other player I was going to mention is NDI. Obviously, season 1, he's okay. Season 2, 3, 4, he's absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, you're getting a 7.65 in the first season. In my opinion, I think in a lot of people's opinion, Franco becomes probably the best keeper in the game. I mean, he's got a really solid lineup there, and I mean, it's only going to get better. He's done good business as well. And I
Yeah,
completely agree with your point early on.
Cordoba, very underrated. I mean, he can play anywhere around there, and he'll do a good job, left, right, centre, wherever.
Mm,
It's a bit frightening to think, like you correctly say, that like he might actually be built better for season 2, season 3, and he's someone who does good business. So yeah, whatever he doesn't get finished this season, he'll probably deal with next season.
completely agree. Dudley Hill. Steve Wright was, I think, maybe probably after 5 games, probably found himself a little bit unlucky, and then he went maybe on a little bit of an experimenting run and probably ended up. I mean, I didn't know what he was doing after these 3 games, and I thought, come on, that might be it for Steve. I thought he had a really bad season. He's starting to rebuild for next year, but now he's last 5 games he's picked up 13 points out of 15. His defense looks a lot more solid. Um, he's kind of brought Dudley Hill back from the brink of being out there, outcast kind of thing, and now he's got a chance at least to try and push into the top 6.
He has.
Um, he's done well, hasn't he?
He's done very well. I think there was a little bit of I don't want to say desperation going on when he had those 3 games. I think having 7 put past him was a reaction to losing the previous 2 games and thinking that the season might be slipping away from him. And then, you know, without wanting to be disrespectful to any team, mine included, he saw that he had a chance to pick up 3 points against a struggling Northern Burn, and he used that to go to more of a go-to formation and something that he felt confident would work against a team that was bottom of the league, pick up 3 points. And he's kind of stuck with something he was probably more comfortable with and ran with it. And it's kind of worked for him. As I said at the start of the broadcast, I think there's always one team that will go on a run and then maybe just hit a brick wall when they get to the playoffs. And I worry this time that it may be Dudley Hill, because it's whether you can keep that level of momentum going. But he has done quite well with, you know, he got Crespo off me, and Crespo, in fair play, he does seem to have got Crespo working. And even if Crespo isn't always getting the goals, he may well be part of a team that is actually playing well. And he's obviously reasonably strong at the back as well with Ayala. I know he doesn't. Has he got Rustico as well? But he doesn't seem to.
I think he didn't fancy him season
Season.
1, I believe, is the issue. He's in his reserves.
Yeah, I must admit I don't understand that. I mean, Rustico would be. Yeah. Anyway, me and Steve have done plenty of business in time, so we'll talk on that one at some point.
I'm sure a few people are. Yeah, he has someone who's done his 4 transfers, and he's someone who's. I quite like the idea that he's done his 4 transfers and he's got all 4 of them in the team. He hasn't been
Yeah,
afraid.
Tomas is huge, isn't he? Tomas is a great inclusion.
I'm also kind of conscious that he did a bit of business pre-thing, and he's not afraid of doing the big transfer. Do you mean he's let big players go there in Gattuso, Robben, Totti, to a lesser extent Hakan Mill, but he's let big players go and
Yeah,
he's bought relatively big players in, and you mean
and I know
it's
it's
that
not
kind of.
music to your ears, but some guys love a transfer, love a deal, and you know I'm included in that, and Steve loves a deal. He just loves doing a deal, you know, which is my kind of guy. So um, whereas when you're running the show and you're having to do the admin and whatnot, you're not necessarily big fans of guys who love a deal, especially prematurely either. So but another reason for me why, you know, we talk about Hull's being a great and Jens being a great inclusion to the league this season. I think Steve Wright as well, another fantastic inclusion this season.
Yeah, he's such a nice bloke as well, and he what a yeah, really like Steve, and yeah, one of those I kind of find myself rooting for Dudley Hill at times as well, which is a little bit unprofessional, isn't it, of me at times. Um, but it's a big game tonight. I'm looking forward to this one. Hulls versus Dudley Hill. Who are you going for tonight, Matt?
Well, as much as I've just gone and bigged up Dudley Hill, I'm going to say this is my one where I have no doubts. I'm afraid I'm going to go Hull's home win.
Well, it looks like you might be in the you're on your own there because we've got a couple of draws. The Devils and Greavesy, Dimble and Duggan have gone for away wins for Dudley Hill. Not got anything else coming through at the moment, so I'm going to kick this one off. See what happens. It does look like we've got attack from the Hulls, and Mr. Roy involved, Beckham involved. Looks like both sides are getting involved here.
Both teams in it.
Yeah, they just look. I mean, similar to Devils in a way. When you see Ronaldo, Crespo on the ball, you do think that's a dangerous. I mean, both sides have got dangerous attacks yet. And there is Van Nistelrooy, that man who never does it in the Super League, scoring his 9th goal of the season. I'd say definitely stays involved. And he had a good season last year at Churchtown. And it is Hulls who are in the ascendancy. Tizalco getting the second. But let's see what they can do here. They have lost Cordoba. Yeah, it's a straight swap for Mendes, isn't it? Unless, yeah, that's pretty much all he's going to do there.
It's a more than adequate replacement as well, and you get rid of, I guess, a centre back who was on a yellow for one who isn't. It's not too bad.
Always the positives there. Completely get that. 40 minutes gone. Dudley Hill will be looking to get to half time and reset, but Bulls are looking to kind of put them down before half time. And there we are. It's 2-0 to Hull's Viking at half time. And yeah, 9 shots, 5 on target, Dudley Hill. No shots on target from 5 attempts from Dudley Hill. Strikers not doing their business. It's been pretty level in the action zones. Have a quick look at how the goals went in. Tizalco chipped the ball ahead of Van Nistelrooy to head home. And we've got Liverani, another player he picked up, crossing it in from the left, and Tizalco getting above the keeper. Dry weather, even for the jump above the keeper. Let's have a quick look at Dudley Hill first. Not a terrible performance, and it looks like it's his strikers not doing the business.
Yeah, it's all just that little bit too average and slightly below average, isn't it? Which the numbers that you see in there kind of, you don't see it turning around second half so much, which is a little bit of a bit of a worry. Yeah, I think it's not so much just shots on goal. Your 2 shots on goal have been almost half of them have been Roberto Carlos. So I mean, if he's set on long shots, for example, and and maybe not getting the ball up to Crespo, then perhaps, if that clinical lack of clinical finishing might just continue second half, which is a worry.
Yeah, he needs something to change, doesn't he, to kind of to get going. He's brought
And
Nick
those numbers are
Barmby on, I
just
think, to make his.
imperious.
Sorry.
Those numbers are just a little bit imperious, aren't they? You're swapping sixes for nines,
Yeah,
um, which looks to me like second half might be a struggle for Dudley Hill.
yeah, he's brought Nick Barmby on though for Super League debut. Hopefully, Nick Barmby can change everything for him. Quick look over at Pools, and it's a completely different story. A lot of sevens, eights, and nines. Alcott completely agree with Greavesy on fire, an assist and a goal. 9 at half time is not a usual thing. Massimo Ambrosini also playing well in midfield. A lot of yellow cards, though, we'll say. Cordoba was on one, then he's got 4 players on the pitch. Jens, as is, and tell the boys to calm tackling down, please. Obviously, no, there's no tactical changes at half time.
Calm
But
fuck down.
how much of a danger is that for Hools?
It is a danger. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, Cordoba getting injured, it was a silver lining as much as he could have been the first red. Bearing in mind that he'd only been on 37 minutes and he'd made those 4 tackles. There's only Ambrosini making more tackles. So maybe Ambrosini's one to maybe keep an eye on. You just get that feeling that it's been dominant, and it's going to take something to go really against Hools to change the tide.
Yeah, no, exactly what you mean. It looks like there's definitely a change needed. Let's see if Nick Barmby can do that. It does look like they came out pretty sharpish there, though, Dudley Hill in the second half. Beckham and Chizalco getting involved, though, at the moment. I've seen a lot of David Beckham, Liverani putting the ball past. It's all Hools at the moment.
It's all
Good
Hools.
save
Yeah.
from Mazzantini. Needs something now. 20 minutes to go. Everything's going to change. Daniel Anderson offside. Chizalco look like he's in and around there,
That
but
was
I mean,
quick.
sorry.
That was quick. Quick last 20
Yeah,
minutes.
quick second half,
Yeah,
and
it was
not much.
dominant, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I'm
dominant from the
surprised
beginning.
that I was the only one who thought Hools were going to take that in the chat. The chat was all about the away win, wasn't it? But that I must admit, I thought that went pretty much how I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, maybe not as dominant as that in my mind, but it's a good solid victory for Jens at home, which is a tough place to go. Action zone's relatively level, but obviously the front players for Hull's obviously doing a much more effective job than the Dudley Hill boys. Quick look at the stats for Dudley Hill, and it's a lot of sixes, maybe not their best performance, maybe having a little bit of a burnout after their kind of good run. Sixes for Crespo and Alex and Daniel Anderson. Maybe not what you expect or hope for in good form.
It's not like the Crespo that we know, isn't it? And he is a conundrum. But there's a couple of other guys in there. Tomas is going to do it on a regular basis. You maybe expect more from Roberto Carlos, who normally in this league really normally does consistently perform. But it was always going to be a tough fixture for Dudley Hill, that one.
Yeah, I mean, he probably not the fixture he wanted after the run, did he? He wanted probably, I don't know, I don't want to kind of inherit names, but he definitely didn't want Hull's away. It's not a good place to go. Hull's and Jens will be delighted that no more yellow cards were picked up in the second half. Chizalco went on to get around the match, and a few more players picked up eights as well on the way. Some good solid passing throughout the teams. A lot of tackles won as well, which is good to see, including 7 key tackles from Massimo Ambrosini. Someone needs to buy him a beer tonight. He had an absolutely fantastic game. I'm surprised he's not picked up man of the match as well. When you look at his 1-3 key headers.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing I'd say about Jens as well, I know he gets a lot of credit for Tsigalco performing in the Super League, but he also seems to be debunking that theory that Nikiforenko and Tsigalko can't play in the same team, and he's gone a bit under the radar, Nikiforenko, because he hasn't been having 2 assists and 3 goals every game and absolutely burning it up like he does at home for everybody. But his numbers in the Super League this season aren't really to be sniffed at.
I know what you mean. I remember Thiago saying pre-season that he thought that Jens had got a bad draw and he didn't have the best team. I mean, I look at this team now and I don't see any weak points in it.
Not at all.
I mean, it's me got me questioning is that should he be challenging the top 2 now? Is that where he should be going?
Well, he is. He is after tonight. He is challenging the top 2.
Mm. Final word on Dudley Hill. Obviously, I don't think it's time to start to kind of to go back to square one. It's a bad performance and a bad result, but it's against a very good team as well. And yeah, let's hope that. I mean, well, let's see if they can bounce back without changing too much. Next, we go to Manchester to the C-suite. My good friend Maka. He says he's gone back 2-7-1, as you'd expect. It's his first after Tinder date. Let's have a look what he's done. It's a familiar formation for myself, something I used to play. Really solid at the back. Them two, Valgarin and Yepes, especially Valgarin this season, having a really good performance. Yepes come in, maybe not got the same numbers, but been really, really solid. Michael Owen up front. What do you make of his inclusion?
You've got to look at the attributes and think that you can totally see why he's persevering with him. I mean, 5 goals, no games. 5 games, no goals. You think, well, the guy's ready for the bench, but then you look at finishing 20, pace 20, acceleration 20. I mean, why is he not a goal a game? So you've got to. I mean, I'd be sticking with him the same as Mac is sticking with him. I think you've got to, and I think as low as that return is, I think at the end of the season, if he decides he's had enough, there'll be plenty of people wanting a conversation about Michael Owen, regardless of the fact that he just never does it. I think the downside is that you're knocking Saviola back to AMC because he wants to play this way, and Saviola is the one with the goals, and we know from past Super League with what Andreas was able to get out of Saviola in certain games that by rights he probably should be the one up top.
I quite like him at AMC though. I must admit, it's do you mean? I think he has did get that hat trick from a striking position, but he definitely does get goals at AMC.
Well, with him being down as FC, obviously he can do. But I mean, by rights, if you were going to say which one of those two you're going to hang your hat on to go and stick him up front based on past experience, you're going with Saviola. But yeah, what I'm saying is you can't blame Maka for persevering with Owen. I think some people would probably say you've got Rossini sat on the bench there. Maybe it's time for Rossini to be given a proper go.
Yeah, thing is though, he's brought him on a few times off the bench. I've seen 12 appearances, including 6 starts, and only got 3 goals. He's given Rossini a lot more of a chance than he's given Michael Owen so far. So that might be part of his thinking as well. Another player he's brought in, I think, Torricelli is someone I've been calling for. Just to give him a run out. He's been switching on the right hand side between Finnan and I think he had.
I think Finnan must be hard done by though. It's not Finnan as he's like, I was going to say an 8 and a 9 and he drops him. That is surprising.
It's a strange one. Igor Bishkan as well. He's been in and out of the team. Who's the one he's got? David Prutton. Yeah, there he is. So he's had a couple of 6s, but he's on the bench. So I think he maybe just wants to give Torricelli a chance because he's not giving one this season. Obviously, Giggs has been one of his main men. Right, we spoke about them for about an hour now, so let's move on to.
It's hard to see where your loyalties lie, isn't it, Ryan?
What do you mean? I'm
totally neutral.
Yeah, I'm a Locomotive fan. Haggis Hunters British Sporting Elite, obviously well known for being the best supported team in the league. Had a little bit of a resurgence of late after being in some disastrous form with 2-3-1 wins against Churchtown and Astor. Maybe two teams that they would have expected to bounce back against. Maybe this is a more challenging game away to Fulchester. Talk us through this lineup.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think, with all due respect to Astor and Churchtown, I think away to Fulchester is a completely different proposition. So, I mean, I don't consecutive 3-1 victories. I don't think you're going to go away to Fulchester and get a 3-1 victory. I think, as much as I've sort of questioned a couple of Macca's decisions tonight, I think he's a lad who obviously knows exactly what he's doing, and whether you can rely on Landon Donovan to bang the goals in, week out at this level, I do not know. I do think that Brozek is a positive inclusion. And I think when you look at those three behind, Mendieta, Vieira, and Nedved, if Nedved can provide something going forward, as well as Mendieta controlling the game, Vieira being Vieira, then I think that is absolutely mega strong. The two Dutch lads at centre back.
It's an incredibly strong team, isn't it? I mean, that makes
It is, and I think you forget about Sahar. Sahar's had a goal in the last couple of games as well, hasn't he? So he's and he's off the back of an 8 and a 9. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very strong. And Larson on the bench with carrying a slight injury is available. Yeah. I think Ian said on his video that is available if needed. I don't know what that injury exactly is, but he's
gash leg.
So I mean, if he is needed, you know, he could come on. But then again, he's named Rizicki on the bench, who could probably cover some similar roles.
I think he's one of those, if he needs a goal late on, he might turn to Larson. If he needs to show things up, he might turn to Rizicki, one of those. Right. Yeah, solid lineup. Let's see what we do. Any predictions from yourself? And with no ghost game, thank God.
Yeah, I'm going home win.
Home win from you. Any predictions in the chat? Let's have a quick look at any things there that's come through.
You've only got Chris Mack. Oh no, now Greavesy as well.
Chris Mack's going for 2-0 to the Haggis Hunters. Big shock there. Greavesy going 2-0 Fulchester. Mack's still a bit concerned because he got battered last week from Zé Roberto. Doesn't look like anyone else has been too forthcoming. Yeah, I agree with Dimble. He was 0% when he got injured last week, and we were fearing the worst for Larson. So the fact that he's got back so quick is incredible.
We've had it a couple of times this season, haven't we, where someone's had a 0% and then they've been back in no time at all.
It's a strange one, usually a bit longer. Dimble going for a 2-0 as well. Let's kick this off and see what we get. Looks like Haggis started pretty well there, but both sides going at each other. And there's Juan Sebastian Veron after 12 minutes opening the scoring. Nicky Butt put him on over. Looks like Donovan coming into the game. I've seen Didier Gat there a couple of times. Both sides creating chances, it seemed. Just seen Brozek get involved. Brozek off the bar. Looks like Haggis coming more and more into the game. Michael Owen involved towards the end of the start. Looks like Haggis grew into that.
He did, yeah. It's very even, I thought.
Fulchester definitely started the stronger, and Haggis kind of got level. So maybe Haggis feeling a little bit hard won by not to be level at half time. Fulchester have had the possession, but it's been in their own area, a lot of it in midfield. Quick look at how the goal went in. Yes, Rivaldo passed to Veron. Veron goes past Hofland and puts it in on his left foot. Good goal from Veron. Let's have a quick look at Haggis. Maybe the performance not reflected in their stats. A lot of 6s and 7s.
Yeah, it's fairly average, but they have felt right in the game. I mean, Kevin Hofland's obviously been extremely busy with 13 tackles in the first half, which is a big number. But So it shows that they have been putting him under a lot of pressure there. Yeah, I must admit, Haggis, it seemed a little bit they've been a bit hard done to there on the ratings because they felt well in the game.
Definitely, I think as I said, they grew into it. Definitely, the back end of that first half, it looked like they were most likely. I see Ian's about in the chat, so he'll have to let me know if he wants any subs. It looks like all his players are relatively fit enough, so he doesn't really need any. But let's see. And the kind of contrast to the Haggis ratings, it looks like Fulchester, maybe these ratings are a little bit generous. Um, Sevens
Yeah,
and eights, no sixes at all. But let's be honest, not a lot of touches there, is this? Do you mean you've got 5 players or 6 players, if you include the keeper, who've touched the ball less than 10 times?
yeah, Yepes and Valharan maybe knocking it about a little bit between themselves, and then maybe not an awful lot more. Is he pumping it forward? Maybe a little bit. I don't know. The completion percentage is all right. It's the touches that aren't great. I mean, Nicky Butt obviously being Nicky Butt under Maka, the same as he was when he had it at Parma and Icos, being absolutely mega solid, which bodes well for the second half. And Torricelli's inclusion at the moment, which you were calling for, is justified.
Solid but not spectacular so far.
No, but they've got that goal and that home advantage, and maybe just that extra one or two on the average ratings might see them home second half.
Yeah. Ian Campbell's written this one off. He's done well done, Mac. A good game, mate. Mac is not having any of it. Um, it's half time. Let's
Well,
see
Ian
what
had, Ian had written the season off 3 or 4 games ago, hadn't he? So let's not worry too much about what Ian's saying.
Yeah, it looks like Fulchester started quite strong, but it's gone a little bit quicker. Michael Owen with a few chances there. Again, not able to take it. It looks like Casillas having a good game. Does look like a lot more Fulchester this half, though.
Gaining a bit of
Um,
control, aren't they?
yeah, it definitely looks like it. Rivaldo, Verona, though, but last 5 minutes and they haven't managed to put it away. It
Oof.
doesn't look like they need to. That looked like a complete domination from Fulchester in the second half, and the stats kind of suggest that maybe not peppering the Haggis Hunters goal, but definitely being not giving anything away defensively. Um, Solid win really for Fulchester. Again, without their strike force being spectacular, I think they definitely scored the least in that top area alongside Locomotive. Only a 1-0 victory tonight, but defence solid as ever. Macker will be happy with that, won't he?
And he should be. I mean, it didn't feel anything special, but it always kind of felt like they were just jabbing them away and were just slightly the best side all the way along. So whether that is home advantage or whether that is just because they were, set up as a better team, I'm not so sure. But Valharan continues his sort of dominance throughout the season that he's continuously shown. Owen hasn't got his goal, but he has got good numbers and he's got himself an 8. So that's encouragement for maybe sticking with the project. Yeah, I mean, if you look down that right hand side and see those numbers, you're probably winning the game. So it was, yeah, absolutely superb. And you've got, in my opinion, probably the best goalkeeper in the Super League on his day, as an 8, as a clean sheet. So I think
After the disaster last week, I think Maka was like, "Oh my God, it's all going wrong after the Slavs game." So
yeah,
he'll be delighted. I mean, Steve Finnan, he didn't get selected tonight, but he was the kind of
exactly.
shining light in that formation. A
Another.
player,
Sorry.
a player who has gone on relatively quiet, I will say, is Ryan Giggs. He obviously really, really strong start to the season. He just seems to be a little bit more just in the team now, not being the main man.
Well, I think we're all kind of used to the job that he's doing. You leave him there, and he does that job. The only guy. I mean, if you take away Roberto out of the equation, the only guy who does better in that role than in a left wing back role than Ryan Giggs is regen. So I think you just leave him there and don't really talk about it and let him crack on.
Mm, completely agree. Um, I don't know if the chairman is watching this, but Landon Donovan hasn't turned up tonight, has he? 4 touches in the entire game.
No, he's probably been too busy watching one of the chairman's streams or something, hasn't he, instead of playing football? I don't know.
Yes. I mean, not blown away, I guess, this week, but again, I mean, definitely the second best in that second half and not really putting enough pressure on the goal. Donovan and Brozek were the people who had the chances, and Stam as well were one, but yeah, not enough going forward, not enough impetus, which seems to be it seems to be their problem all season. 24 goals scored, a lot of those coming from midfield rather than the strikers. Um, Solid performance from Brozek, who's come into the team. Apart from that, nothing really to write home about. Maybe Casillas having a solid game and not letting it the second goal in. But yeah, solid home victory for the C-suite boys. Um,
Absolutely.
we have a marquee matchup coming up, I believe, as second take on third. Um, I think Devils drew, didn't it? So second do have a chance to go top, or Sloths have a chance to leapfrog Boston if they get the win. Um, Boston, the surprise package of the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know we keep on banging on about it, and it's probably time to stop banging on about it. But I don't think he was dealt the best hand, but he's shown what a good manager he is by playing the cards that he was dealt. Um, I think there's a couple of guys in the team where, when he's been discussing transfer dealings early on in the season, he would have to have maybe got rid of maybe Cannavaro or Contra to bring guys in, and he was probably reluctant to do so. But he's one of those who can make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, isn't he? And he's absolutely done that. And any time where you think that maybe things are going to start to not go his way, he kicks on again. And he's quite he sticks with his guys as well. I think he was obviously very pro Effenberg at the start of the season, who did well, and he stuck with Effenberg when he sort of plateaued a little bit, and he's come good again. Um, and plenty of other guys there that he just seems to know how to get the best out of. I think when you're talking manager of the season, is in that conversation with Jens and the manager that he's coming up against tonight.
Yeah, Rob definitely in that conversation as well. Decor missing tonight, Kaladza missing as well. Matty Holland hasn't played really, so not much of a miss. He's also dropped Inzaghi after bringing him in. He's not had the best start at Locomotive. I do like Inzaghi though, but didn't really get a chance at Leathersford. Um, Ricardinho been the main man recently. Kind of Elba got the 2 goals in the first half last week, and then Bulls Vikings came back in the second half. That were a bit of a slobber knocker. He's definitely going through a tough run of fixtures at the moment.
Mm.
And obviously led us with Bostock, Hulls, and Sloths, and he's doing all right in that run as well. He's not doing too bad. Needs to get a bounce back a little bit tonight to get unless Steel go 3 games without a victory. Um, let's have a look at the man of the moment. Basically, we saw 3 wins on the bounce, unfortunate defeat away to Hulls, and then he absolutely took Colchester apart last week, um, including David Collins. Is it time to be putting Sloths in that category of nailed on playoffs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the impressive thing about Sloths is it's not the main thing is it's the amount of shots they have each game. They're constantly having 18, 15, 12, 13, 14 shots. They have a lot of shots on target, and they create a lot of chances. And you only need like a small percentage of those efforts to go in on goal. And they're going to be absolutely flying. They're constantly creating, so they're never out of any game they play. They seem to have also, as well as obviously Collins, being doing what he's doing. he's taken on the challenge of trying to get Totti going, and Totti is going. So, and I
Slow
mean,
start, isn't it?
I know from previous experience, he seems to have settled on this one up front of Palermo as well. And last season, I had Palermo at BTEC, and I couldn't really get him going. And then I played him up front last game of the season on his own. He scored a hat trick, and Rob seems to have that Palermo up front as well. So, oh, absolutely. I think the question isn't whether they can finish top six. I think the question is whether they can finish top two.
Right, that'll be music to Rob's ears. He says he needs a win here, though. It's a tough game, it really is. I think this is the only time this season we'll see Locomotive in their away strip, which is just the inverse of the pink and white. It's the white and the pink.
It's still lovely though, isn't it? It's not as
Not as
the
in your
home
face.
kit. The home kit's the best colours in the league, but their away kit's not bad.
Not bad at all. Rob Marshall turning into 5 here and back in the opposition. 2-0 to Locomotive. Maka going for a Desmond. Um, let's see what else. A couple of people can't call it. Steve Wright can't call it. Dimble's not give us anything so far. Not seen Alf in a while. Has Alf gone after his defeat, maybe? Um, right, let's kick this one off and see where it gets us. And it looks like slots have started quickly, but these games can go both ways. Um, Del Piero involved a lot, Zé Roberto involved, and that man, David Collins, is the man who gets involved. And Del Piero puts away a penalty on 24 minutes. Rob will be bouncing around the room. Um, what a start this is for Sloss, 2-0 for the first time, but there's Amoroso, one of my favourites on the game, coming back and getting one just before half time and then putting pressure on before half time. It's a good start. Good first half.
Yeah,
Score
well,
probably.
most of the shots have gone in.
Yeah, I was going to say, goalkeepers not covering themselves in glory. Possession and action zones in Sloth's favour, even though it's still a lot in midfield. Let's have a quick look at the goals. Zeriberto doing De Roberto things, and Collins putting the goal away. Fiore brought down by Manu Petit, and Del Piero putting the penalty away. Ricardinho and Amoroso combining. I mean, it's a lot of the form players getting involved, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Sloth's 2 up first half. Solid team performance so far.
Yeah, I mean, I thought home win at the start. I've seen nothing to change my mind. Um, I think they're dangerous. They're always one of those sides where they always look like they're capable of a goal at any minute. I think Locomotive don't quite have that in them. I think they always look like they could win any game, but they don't necessarily always look like they could score at any minute, whereas Spartak do. I fully expect Spartak to see the game out.
Yeah, completely agree. Only person maybe letting the side down a little bit, Matt and Palermo and Neil Scally. Carlos Camara with 3 key tackles, having a really, really solid game back there. Assist coming from Fiore, obviously winning that penalty, and Zé Roberto crossing for David Collins. This is probably the worst numbers we've seen at halftime all season from Locomotive. More sixes than sevens. Amoroso getting his goal but not doing much else. Similar story for Ricardinho. Um, that midfield three, Ricardinho, Effenberg, and Deisler. Um, are they getting outplayed tonight? Are they just being bypassed by the front three of Sloss? What's going wrong at the moment for Locomotive?
Well, they're certainly not outnumbered, but maybe bypassed, as you say, is possibly the key word. Three of them hunched in there against Fiore, but if the ball isn't really being played there and it's being maybe directed more towards those three behind the striker, then if they are being bypassed, then yeah. But Deisler, as much as he is a decent player, I think he hasn't really got going this season when he's been included. 6.6. Currently, we're adding another 6 to it. It's an experiment that maybe isn't working at the moment. Yeah, it doesn't bode well for the second half, in my opinion.
No, I tend to agree with you there, mate. I thought he might have brought Seb Cale on for his debut with Petit being on a yellow, but he's keeping it as it is. Let's kick this second half off, and it started very quick.
Oof.
Pink and Effenberg has equalised. after just 5 minutes. Maybe we got that one wrong at half time there. 57 minutes gone, 60 minutes gone, and it's going back and forward. A lot of pink though. Um, Palermo having a chance there. Looks like there might be another penalty, I thought, in that thing, but
They're
Effenberg.
well back in it now, aren't they, Locomotive?
Yeah, it looks like they're the team most likely. As soon as I say that, I saw
Oh, here we
David
go.
Collins is supposed to put one in. David Collins, what a player he is. And I think it was Roberto with the assist as well. With 5 minutes to go. Oh, it's another penalty, and it's another.
Huge.
Oh, I think he put it in twice, did he? What's
Wow.
going on here?
Huge result. And Palermo gets his goal in the end.
And you kind of alluded to it pre-game, is that Sloths create so much, is that
Yeah.
they've got a goal in them all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the first time this season that we've seen Fabian Barthez um, have a nightmare, conceding 5 of his 6 goals. Rob will be absolutely bouncing around that. He'll be, he'll be lubing up the courgettes and doing what he does. Couple of penalties for Del Piero. 90-minute goal looks like, yeah, they probably deserved it in terms of the action zones and possession. Considering there's quite a few goals here to get through. Um, Amoroso brought down going past Abiyati. Effenberg hits the penalty home. Um, Lewison had the ball at field. Gamara picks it up and crosses it to Collins, who puts it in. What is Lewison or Gamara doing crossing it in? I've no idea. And then a couple of goals right at the end. Cannavaro jumps on fairly with Palermo, and then Roberto knocking it in for Palermo. Really, really, really spectacular performance and deserved win for the Spartak Slavs.
Yeah, I mean, if you can protect Abiyati, I think is the only weak link in there. If you can score 5 goals, you know he's not going to concede 6. I think you're onto a winner there. Like I said, I mentioned it a couple of weeks back in the chat, and Mr. Mega Save himself, Joe, was talking about it as well. Um, you just look at the amount that they create, and it is frightening. And you only have to stick in a certain percentage of them because they are that dangerous. And you can see where Rob's confidence throughout the season oozes from, because he's got the right guys in the right place and he's getting a tune out of them. And if you're getting a tune out of Francesco Totti, then why not have all the confidence in the world?
Yeah, completely agree. Another 2 assists for Roberto, taking him to 16 in the season. Another man of the match, taking him to 8. He has definitely been my player of the season so far. David Collins definitely up there as well. Maybe Del Piero and Palermo haven't played too much, but they're on the score sheet again tonight. Probably the worst performance of the season collectively for Lokomotiv Boston. Barthez not covering himself in glory and conceding the 5 goals from 6 shots. Contra not having a bad game on the right hand side. It's maybe a surprising 9 there, considering he didn't get a goal or assist. Elba with a 5 after a really great performance last week. Um, yeah, not the best from Locomotive this week, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. I think that means that Fife will retain his top spot. Let's give someone a preview there. Yeah, Greaves will go again though. I'm sure he's not too worried. He's got that top 6 spot pretty much nailed down. Conscious of time, 15 minutes to 11, and we go finally to Bostock Stanley. Just gonna I thought I'll go first ahead of you talking about Northern Burn. Um, got after a disappointing performance with one at the back away to Gazelles. Mr. Campbell saying maybe a little bit naive, playing one at the back against someone who was going to play 2 up front, has kind of gone to a more traditional lineup. Maldini and Lassisi at the back, relatively solid. Zidane came on and I think scored a free kick or a penalty last week. He's kept him out of the team despite scoring from a big shagger on his own up front. Eto, who's been in relatively good form this season in terms of goals and assists, alongside Joe Cole. It's a really, really solid lineup, and they'll be aware that Leddersford won earlier tonight, and I can't think who else won. I'm not going to go through it at the moment, but they need to keep on winning to avoid dropping out of that top six. Um, and they would have been hoping to take on a Northern Burn of maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, rather than the one which is in slightly improved form. So it's a relatively strong lineup for Bostock. I think he's happy with that. Um, Ian, do you want to talk us through, what you're going with tonight? Maybe pick out a couple of key players. I mentioned midweek if he knew days he's coming at and your kind of forms changed up since then.
Yeah, to be honest with you, central defence concerns me. Suspension to Walter Samuel, who's been decent for me. Sylvester comes back in, who was originally dropped for Udesi, who was part of the 3 wins on the trot. The slight bonus is that, well, Van Bommel is fit again, so he comes back in for Petkov. But Petkov's been decent for me, and Van Bommel hasn't been that great. So, but he comes back in because he's Van Bommel, basically. My slight kind of positives are that my fullbacks have found a little bit of form. So I may have found a bit of balance down the left and down the right. We'll see about that. I don't know. Henri gone a little bit off the boil. He needs to come back and do something up top. Yeah, I mean it's not Bostock aren't they're not playing the Northern Burn of a few weeks back where we're getting battered, but they're also not playing the one who's just won 3 on the trot because we lost our last game. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean
I'm not.
was
Honestly, I'm
that a
not.
bit of a was that a bit of a blip for Toldo? And you mean he conceded 4 of his 6 shots?
But Toldo only has 2 types of games. He either has an absolute stormer or a stinker. So it's hard. It's kind of hard to say. But I look at my other 2 and I don't really want to stick any of them in. So we'll see. All the away kits on the go. Nice.
It does look nice actually. I quite like this. It's some nice colours indeed. I take it you're back in a Northern Burn victory tonight?
No comment.
No comment, no comment. Steve Wright is going for Northern Burn victory, as is Dimble. Steve Wright also commenting on your beautiful colours. Mac is going 2-1 to the Stanley. It is a game that I think that could go either way. Boyd McGregor in charge. We know he's a big Haggis fan, so I wonder if that has any impact. Let's kick this one off. Lots of red and white to start the game. Eto Byron just wide. Tudor involved as well, but looks like coming down the other end. And wow, that must be a delight to your eyes and an absolute nightmare for Scott as his keeper has seen red, and I think it's a penalty as well. Andre will come on. Have we seen Scott in the chat? I'm just having a quick scroll up, see if I can see his name anywhere.
I saw him earlier on in the chat. Yeah, he is in.
He is he might be doing something else. He's there. He's there. He's saying for fuck's sake. So, Scott, the floor is yours. Riquelme. Wow. Okay. Riquelme goes in goal.
Nice. Can he save penalties?
I'm sure he means to bring Andre on. Yeah. I'm just going to let him confirm that. Yeah.
No, I think he means Riquelme in goal.
He can't mean Riquelme in goal. I'm not buying it. I know you want him to mean Riquelme in goal. Come on, Scott, just say yes. Gee, this Macca, where's his half a can? That's a miracle of that. What did Macca say?
Yeah, Riquelme off.
Yeah, I thought as much. What am I doing? Andre for Riquelme. Right, not what Bostock needed. Let's see what happens. And Mattia Kazman scores the goal and puts your boys in front. 10 minutes gone, and they've equalised straight away with Saliu Lasisi. Both teams now having chances. Does look like Bostock Stanley do look dangerous though. Both sides going back and forward, isn't it? 28 minutes gone. Zambrotta to Henri. Henri having one disallowed there, which is frustrating for him. And in good form, and we make it to half time. Relatively level. I take that as a disappointment to you after going a man up quite early. You've had the less possession as well, even though you've had the better of the action zones. A quick look at the red card. Elfropoulos clipped the feet of Van Bommel, and Boimgreva gave the penalty and the red card. Kesman struck the penalty home. Eto corner, Lasisi got above Gattuso. Gattuso's not having the best of time at the moment. Considering they're down to 10 men, I think they're having a relatively solid performance.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, Andres Camon got an 8, which is helped. Might get his first team spot back. Having a quick look at what else is happening. A few key tackles there for Milevski. 3 key tackles for Andre, which is interesting on the CC. So very good defensively, which I suppose will need to be against the against 11 men. Scott going for substitution and Zinedine Zidane coming on for Joe Cole. Zidane obviously up for a bit of redemption, came on as a sub last week. If I do that, yes. What do you think first half? Are you not happy with that?
No, I think we've been, we've not been great. It's been disappointing. It was a bit of a gift what was handed to us there, and we haven't really took advantage of it. But then it wouldn't be a Northern Burn game without having a goal disallowed, and the goal disallowed already has stopped us being in front, which is a bit of a shame. I will make one change if you don't mind. It'll be probably the first half-time sub I've made all season, and I'm going to take Gattuso off, and I'm going to bring Oliveira on.
Oliveira, have we seen much of him this season? I don't remember.
2 games, I think, yeah, and he's done nothing. In an ideal world, I'd like to be able to swap Van Bommel and Oliveira around, but I'm not allowed, am I? So they'll have to both stay on wrong feet.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
It
is something that we will address for next season, where we can do little switches like that. I think I don't see any harm in it, but I am very conscious of basically if we just kind of go and do it halfway through a game, then we'll probably get loads of people going. Hang on a minute,
I wouldn't want to do anything that, especially being on comms, I wouldn't want to do anything that Scott wasn't happy with either. So that's spot on for me. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's in the chat this week about potential second subs as well, which I'm not adverse to. So we'll see what happens end of season and whether we kind of have a little bit more flexibility. I think the concern is though we don't want people going a goal down, then getting a man sent off, and then completely flipping their formation and things like that, which we got the potential to do at times. So yeah, trying to find a happy medium. Right, it's half time. Obviously Northern Burn looking to capitalise on being a man up, but we'll see what happens. Zidane on for Stock Stanley, Oliveira on for Northern Burn. Looks like Northern Burn had a good start, but I've just seen Vieri have a good chance. And we've got an injury to Vieri now, and it's his 3rd sub. I assume Alan Smith is coming on. Captain is going to give it to Maldini. I think that's a fair enough point. I can't see yet. He's not going to do anything else, is he? Let's continue with that. Zidane getting some curve on the shot. Looks like they're well in the game, which is maybe a little bit surprising. Smith now involved. Henri involved from Northern Burn. 25 minutes to go. Could go either way. This it's Robin involved there, knocking the ball through. Robin getting us talking to. Robin and Zidane seem to be the names that are coming up quite a lot. I suppose you want Henri involved, don't you, as well? He's in such good form. 10 minutes to go. Will there be a winner for either side? No, there won't. It's one apiece.
Well,
I think if anything, there. I mean, no offense. I think Scott will be maybe a little bit disappointed considering. Obviously, he's had a red card, but still been the better team.
no, they did well, really well. We didn't capitalise at all.
No, not at all. 9 shots on target to your 6. Basically similar kind of conversion rate there. Possession and action zones relatively similar, and not too much happened in terms of stuff. You think anyone let you down? Anything that you'd have done differently?
Not particularly. I think probably the errors that were maybe made in team selection in the first place, not particularly in game. 1 to 11, I'm decent. After that, it is a little bit of a struggle. So on the face of it, a point away to Bostock is decent, but yeah, it's 10 men for a bunch of the games, so it's not so great. Yeah, I think as well with the goal going in after 8 minutes as a penalty and doing nothing after that, apart from the disallowed goal, which obviously we come to expect from us. Yeah, it is a little disappointing, and I think Scott can be a little aggrieved, probably that he hasn't maybe even squeaked something else out of it. But then again, his keeper has got man of the match, so maybe that says something as well.
Yeah, keeper has got man of the match, and his defensive midfielders getting the higher ratings than his defenders. So it looks like they have defended really, really well. The CC got the goal as well, which is surprising. Andre 9 man of the match, Mileski at 8. Andre 6 key tackles, although it's different for goalkeepers, but Lasisi at 5 as well, really, really solid. Just trying to think of who's had the shots here. It looks like it's well split. Tudor having 2 of the shots, Eto having 2 off target, Lasisi having 1. So maybe,
Zidane busy, hasn't he, as well when he come on?
yeah, Zidane's had a relatively solid game. He's maybe turning up now. He's on the substitute bench. Um, yeah, I kind of agree. Maybe his shots coming from all over the place. Wants them to fall to Vieri and Smith, but yeah, overall, considering it down to 10 minutes, a good performance and could be considered slightly unlucky not to come away with
Yeah,
the 3
I
points.
think when you mentioned earlier on that when we look at the next season and what changes we can make to the way things go, I think it obviously if you are to be playing against 10 men, you get to half time and you can make that one positional uh, change. You might be able to make more advantage of being playing against 10 men, but when you're up against 10 men and you can't move any guys around, then I guess that plays into the hands a little bit of the team who've had the sending off.
Yeah, I completely understand that. A quick look at the results overall. A bit of a contrast, really, in terms of a few low-scoring games, a 0-0, a 1-0, and a 1-1, and then Spartak and Dragons kind of completely kind of ignored that and started banging the goals in. It's been an interesting night, hasn't it?
It's been a good night, yeah. I think, yeah, if you've got to say well done, Dragons, because that was just absolutely on fire, wasn't it? It was bang, 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 bang. It just seemed to start happen for them, and I think that little bit of consistency in selection, in approach to the game, seems to have paid off for them, and especially against a team who were going to be resurgent. Spartak up to second into that top 2. When Rob talks about not getting talked about, I hope he looks at tonight and hears that he's been talked about a lot because they deserved it. It was a bit of a lubbicking in the end.
um, Fulchester kind of got the goal relatively early and without being spectacular, just kind of held out and they had a dominant second half, didn't they? Churchtown and Devils kind of flew by, and we just spoke relatively at them for Bostock and Northern Burn. Leddersford relatively solid and deserved that victory away at Astor, but probably owe a lot of it down to Jan Shedder. And Hull's Viking kind of nailing down their top 6 credentials with a home victory over Dudley Hill. We look again at the league table. I know you had a monologue about this earlier. Anything much changed?
Not an awful lot. I mean, Leddersford have made their way into the top 6, which is completely deserved on the last couple of games. They've looked very, very dangerous. The Gazelles have missed that opportunity. And you wonder whether maybe Churchtown, Dudley Hill, and Haggis Hunters have lost that momentum that they'd achieved.
Did they all get beat?
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't like to say that it's out of the top 7 because I don't think that is true. I think any of the top 11 can still completely get there. But the 9, 10, and 11 have had a bit of a kick there and need to turn it round. But handy something as I'm possibly at home next week, maybe have a good chance of turning it around. Dudley Hill the same.
Yeah,
Churchtown concerned me that they've not been able to get anything going. I still don't rule Gazelles out. Bostock Stanley must actually take a bit of credit tonight for being in a position in that match where they could have won a game with 10 men. So, yeah, big winners tonight: Leddersford, Fulchester, Hools.
yep. A bit of a gap there between kind of fifth and down to seventh now, 5 points. I know it's 7 games going, so it's definitely catchable. But I mean, there's a little bit of breathing space for Fulchester and Hools. It's been a bit of a good night for the top teams, hasn't it? I mean, of the top five, only Locomotive got beat. Devils, Sloths, Hools, and Fulchester all won. That chasing pack, Gazelles, Churchtown, Dudley, and Haggis kind of getting beat tonight. So, I mean, it was the kind of more established teams in there who've kind of created a bit of space. Locomotive, the only side to kind of drop away from that. Just a little bit of maths there in my head. I think, I mean, you look at the 28 points after 19 games, you divide that by 19 and times it by 26, that kind of runs up to just over 38. So you are going to need a good 38, 39 points to kind of get in there. Therefore, Leddersford are looking for, do you mean they're looking for 3 wins and a couple of draws or something like that to get there? It means that to get to, say, let's say 40 points to make sure of the top six, which we know isn't dead nailed on, but it's most likely you'll get there with 40 points. That's 5 wins out of 7 games for Gazelle, Churchtown, Dudley Hill, a little bit more for Haggis. It's fine. It's no kind of mean feat, is it? It's sorry, not no mean feat. It's no easy task, is it? No walk in the park.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at Dudley's record this season, one draw, which tells you they either win or they lose. Unfortunately, they lose more than they win. So their games are going to be very exciting. Some really good to keep an eye on this running. Churchtown, you just never know what's going to happen. Um, Stanley and Gazelles are certainly capable, and I would probably at this stage, not just because of the points they've got, but because of who's in charge, I would maybe say that Fulchester are probably looking pretty good for a playoff place. I just, it's probably a bit premature to say, but I just look at that as being a battle for sixth now, a battle for
Wow.
sixth, a battle for sixth between maybe 3 teams.
So you're kind of saying that, I mean, looking at this, they've got how many games left? 7 games left. 4 away games, 3 home games. Home games against Northern Burn, Churchtown, Locomotive, Astor away as well. You're banking on Fulchester winning at least 3 of those to kind of get there. Um, Hulls Vikings have got Leddersford, Churchtown. They've got, I mean, some tough games coming up away at Haggis, home to Gazelles, away at Northern Burn. I mean, there's no easy games, is there? But in your mind, that those teams in fourth and fifth have got enough in them to win 3 games.
I do, yeah, because I think they can. I think on a game by game basis, knowing what they need to do, I think they can do it. Um, the interest for me comes with Leddersford, Bostock, and Gazelles because I just don't think you know what you're going to get game to game from those teams.
Yeah, Laddersford are a team that basically could go on a winning streak of 3 or 4, or they could lose the next 3 or 4. It's an interesting one, isn't it? So it could all be over this in a couple of weeks' time. But
Well, it could, but I think also, Scott has proved with last season that he can put a run together with a team that isn't even necessarily his own, and he's already proven this season he can put a run together with a team that is his. So getting 1 point back on Hodgie is completely doable. Gazelles just need to start winning games that they should be winning, which obviously they're not always doing. So that's just what makes it, more interesting, really.
It does indeed. Quick word on the bottom three. Is that becoming a little bit of a separate race now? A race not to finish bottom. Asked to beat tonight. Dragons picking up the victory, and yourselves getting a draw. I mean, what I can say is that the bottom lot are not as adrift as they have been in previous seasons, are they?
No, and obviously 14th place had the result of the night, so that if things had gone as they had been, they could be properly adrift. But they've showed something really positive tonight. So it is its own mini battle. It's a shame to be involved in that mini battle, but yeah, we're there, and we'll try and try and stay off that bottom spot as best we can, and hope that Fifey passes his wooden spoon onto someone other than us. Yeah,
Quick look at the average ratings. Obviously, I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to fire through this. Zeroberto has moved to the top. Obviously, Kieran getting a 7 tonight versus a 9 for Zeroberto. Big names up there. Thierry Henry, surprisingly, still up there considering the position of you guys at the moment.
yeah. I mean, I've got to give a big shout out to Alf for that. I mean, Thierry Henry is only half of those games been for us, half of them have been for Alf. So he had him ticking before he decided to get shot of them.
Other names to mention: Collins and Clive chasing Mpenza, who again didn't score tonight. We said a few weeks ago that kind of top goals scorer chart was kind of done and dusted. Maybe not as done and dusted as it was, but still definitely favourite Mpenza. Man of the matches, I can't see anyone catching Zé Roberto. And yeah, as you kind of alluded to, Francesco Tordo and Oliver Kahn, two of the usual best keepers on the game out and the best of seasons.
Yeah, he's got a big point in his finger at the defenders for that one as well. Though he has some stinkers, but so do my defenders.
Finally, a quick look at the fixtures for next week. Dudley Hill versus Bostock Stanley. That's a game for the chasing pack now. Gazelles will need to beat Fulchester, I think, to excuse me, to drag Fulchester back into it. You want to talk through, mate? I've got a frog in my throat.
Yeah, no worries. I think when you discuss like which games we should go to, what we should watch in what order, I'd like to leave Gazelles and Fulchester till one at the end because it's a massive game. If anyone's going to go away to Gazelles and outfox them or whatever you want to say, park the bus or figure a way out of getting something out of the game, then I think it's Macca. I think he could get something there, but it's a massive game. Leddersford Churchtown, there could be 9 goals in it. It could go anywhere, but I think that's an opportunity for Hodgie to cement his top 6 spot. Definitely, Greavesy will be looking at being at home to the Dragons and seeing that as an opportunity to get back on track. Devils back at home after grinding a 0-0 out, which you've got to do if you want to have a bit of success. But then he is going to be doing it against one of the most creative teams in the league. Then you've got the Yorkshire Cartel, Dudley Hill, Bostock Stanley. I fancy Steve looking at that, thinking this is my last hurrah. Can I get 3 points to throw myself back into the mix, which I firmly believe he can do. And then when you talk about the Battle of the Wooden Spoon, it's me fending off Alf. And I won't make any predictions until I see if I've got any of the spine of my team back available.
Fair enough. Thanks a lot for that, mate. Much appreciated. Yeah, Devils and Spartak, obviously the pick of the bunch, but some really interesting things coming up on Sunday. I think we've got the master himself, Alf, on comms, so you'll be hoping for the return of the commentator's curse, no doubt. But
that'd be nice.
Right, thank you so much for everyone in the chat, and thank you yourself, Ian. You've been absolutely fantastic on comms, and keeping it going for over 2 hours, which I don't like doing on a Wednesday, but it's been good fun. So I appreciate your
Yeah, I've
time.
enjoyed it, mate. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone, and I'll catch you soon.
Cheers, lads.